следующего вопроса.
Да, можно. Раньше вы говорили, что не очень любите ощущать, быть фронтменом. В последнее время, по-моему, ситуация изменилась, судя по вашему интервью. Что на это повлияло? Может быть, сольная карьера вас раскрепостила или какая-то еще причина?
Well, many reasons really. Just one, I think, confidence, increasing in confidence over the years, becoming more confident as a frontman. I think also now, because I am a solo artist, I'm able to control everything. So I'm basically standing in the middle of a circus of my own creation. Everything from the visuals to the band to the choice of material. And when I was in a band before, there was always an element of you know, politics. You know, so you don't get to do everything you want to do. And I think nowadays, because I feel like everything as part of the show, the records, is exactly how I want it, that's given me a lot more confidence to be the director, you know, standing up there.
Образ женщины, историю которой вы рассказываете в последнем альбоме, это образ собирательный или это реально существующий человек? Может быть, это истории реально рассказанных людей?
It's kind of both, because it was based on a real story, and it was based on a story of a woman called Joyce Carol Vincent. And Joyce Carol Vincent was a young woman who was found dead in her apartment in North London, and her body had been there for 3 years undiscovered. And that in itself is really shocking, and that was very shocking to me when I heard that story. That was in the BBC like 10 years ago. And I think I forgot about it for a long time, and then there was a British filmmaker called Carol Morley who made a documentary about Joyce Carol Vincent called Dreams of a Life. And I saw that, and it made me understand something very powerful about this story, which is that this was not, as I think you might assume, this was not a lonely little old lady living with her cats. She was the opposite. She was a young, attractive, popular woman, and yet she was not missed by her friends or family for 3 years. And I started to think, how is that possible? And the more I thought about it, the more I understood, absolutely, that is possible. In the 21st century, in these sprawling cities like Moscow, London, I can totally understand how something like that can happen. We live in a digital world, we live in the world of social networking, we live in a world where information is, we're bombarded by information all the time. Life has become very stressful, very fast, everything is distracting us, from our mobile phones to our computers to television. And so I understood that this is something that is going to probably become more and more common. And I wanted to write about a character like that, but I didn't want to write about Joyce Carol Vincent, so I kind of used her as the basis for a fictional character, into which, of course, I put a lot of myself. You know, I think every writer ultimately ends up, you donate your own life to your characters, and so my character has elements of Joyce Carol Vincent, but is essentially another aspect of me, and you know, my concerns and my fears and all that stuff.
Maybe to prolong this question, what kind of stories inspires you? Because I remember vaguely that Porcupine Tree already had some kind of story about guys who committed suicide, I think, once. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Way Out of Here, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. No, not Way Out of Here, something about Earth.
Last Chance to... Well, Last Chance to... That was a song about a religious cult where they all committed suicide, yeah. Well, you know, I think...
What kind of stories inspire you? I mean, I just remember 2 of them, just on a single point.
Well, the simple answer is I don't know until it inspires me. You know, I can't tell you what is going to... You know, just like you can't predict what song is going to, you know, appeal to you or what movies. There are certain things that just I guess, just click with me. I guess if I sat down and analysed, there might be some commonality to why. I think there's always something to do with mortality in everything I write about. I mean, you mentioned, you know, suicide, and then Hand Cannot Erase, about the woman that died, and then the previous album was all supernatural stories about ghosts, and that in itself, of course, is, I mean, I've always seen ghosts as a kind of manifestation of our own fear of mortality and our own fear of death. So I think there is something about my interest in mortality, about the idea of dying without having found the right relationship, found the right job, found happiness. And I think that for me is the most tragic thing of all, if you live a life just of regret. And Joyce Carol Oates, I guess, was another example of a young woman who clearly never found herself and found a way to interface with the planet that she was a part of. That, for me, there's something incredibly sad about that. There's a real pathos about that. And I think that applies to anything. People who find religious cults, it's all a way of escaping from doing what they should do with the gift of life. At least that seems to... I'm not religious. I think religion is unfortunately for me, it's one of the prime ways that people are distracted from making the most of the gift of life. You know, it's like an excuse not to live your life. So I think if you were to analyse everything I've written about, that might be the common thing at the core of everything.
Еще вопросы? Нет, все?
Может быть, завершающий вопрос. Стандартный, но тем не менее, что вы ждете от сегодняшнего концерта?
Завтрашнего.
Завтрашнего, да, прошу прощения.
Final question, do you have any expectations of the show tomorrow?
You mean in terms of the reaction from the audience?
Probably.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. If last night's anything to go by, the audience was very passionate, and also I like the fact that it's a very eclectic audience here. It's men, women, young, older, and that's not always the case with, you know, sometimes countries like Germany and England, for example, my audience tends to be a little bit older, mostly male. So it's great to come to a country where there's as many young girls as there are old guys in Pink Floyd t-shirts. So that's really nice, and I'm sure it'll be similar. I hope it'll be similar tomorrow.
Спасибо.
Thank you.
Спасибо.
Я вот смотрел некоторые клипы, и они мне чем-то напомнили советские мультфильмы. Как вы вообще, знакомы ли вы вообще с советским синематографом?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, but I'm not the director of those films. I work with a fantastic British animator called Jess Cope, who's worked with Tim Burton and those kind of people. I'm sure she has. Because you know that is her animation is her profession. Me personally, as you can see, I'm quite ignorant of Russian culture. I know some Russian jazz musicians.
But that's a good start.
That's a good start. Yeah, there you go. But I don't know any Russian rock music as well, or animators. I know some Russian movies. Big Tarkovsky fan. Solaris, original Solaris, Stalker. There you go.
Хотите что-нибудь еще спросить? Мне кажется, Стивен вопросы.
I've got many questions, but my English is not so perfect.
Okay.
Я вам помогу. Задавайте смелее.
Вы когда-нибудь ездили в московском метро?
Is it?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
It's a trip worth making.
Really? Just to go to the subway? Okay, if you say so. Maybe I'll do it.
Come to Mayakovskaya subway station, you can spin a coin there.
Okay.
It's very fun.
Okay. I had to, I mean, I've been to Moscow twice before and only for like 24 hours each time, so I haven't really had any time. In fact, this is my first ever day off in Moscow today. So maybe today.
Talking about your music videos, with Porcupine Tree you worked a lot with Lasse.
Yeah, Lasse Hoyle, yeah.
I don't know how this is
Lasse
spelled.
Hoyle, yeah.
He was quite an inspiration on me as a photographer.
Oh, really?
Do you have any plans on working with him? Or?
Well, Lasse did the artworks 4.5.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean, Lasse is my primary sort of visual collaborator. So yes, the answer to your question is absolutely. And tomorrow at the show you'll see, although we have the animations that Jess Cope did, we also have a lot of new live action films which Lasse has created.
He's amazing.
He is amazing, yes, and he'd be very happy. He'd love for you to tell him that too.
Well,
He's Danish, so
possibility.
he's Danish, so he's Scandinavian, so he thinks everyone hates him and everything he does sucks.
And what is the process working with Lasse? Do you play him new music or
Yeah.
concept or?
We sit down and we talk about the concept, we talk about the lyrics, and usually because we have a very one of the reasons I think I get on so well with Lasse is we have a very shared visual vocabulary, by which I mean that we kind of love the same kind of movies and we love the same kind of photography, and it makes it easier because when you're talking with someone like that, like I'll be talking to Lasse and I'll say, I've got this new sign, hey, do you remember that scene in Lost Highway, you know, David Lynch movie? And he's like, yeah, I love that scene. And you know what, maybe you have that with someone else too. You know when you have that kind of shared enthusiasm and that it makes it so easy because you understand straight away he gets it. And I know that when he brings me the film he's created, I know that it's exactly what I imagined in my mind. And I had experiences early on where it was a disaster because you'd explain something to someone, you think they understood it and they bring back something that's completely wrong. And I've never, well, a couple of times, I mean, even in a relationship like that, sometimes it doesn't happen, but very rarely does Lasse make something which isn't pretty much exactly what I had in mind. And that's a very special, very rare thing to find. You know, to find that once in a lifetime is amazing.
Что вас вдохновило на сольную карьеру?
What inspired me to go solo? I mean, there isn't a big difference, to be honest. I mean, you know, I wrote all the songs for Porcupine Tree. I was very much the captain of the ship. The solo records for me are really just a continuation of that. I think the fans see a lot more of a distinction than I do. The only reason was I was not able to do everything I wanted to in a band. I'll give you an example. They're not the kind of things that people think, like, oh, he wasn't able to do what he wanted musically. I was. The things I weren't able to do, for example, when you're in a democratic band unit, you are responsible for everyone in that band's income, their financial income. So, for example, now, the show you'll see tomorrow, I have these rather spectacular films, I have very high quality screens, I have quadraphonic sound. All that costs a lot of money. I am able to make a decision and say, you know what, I'm going to go on tour and I'm going to come back at the end of the tour and I'm going to have made no money at all. Because I want to put all the money into the show. I couldn't do that in Porcupine Tree. Because if you go to your other band members and say, hey guys, wouldn't it be great, all the money we're going to make on this tour, if we blow it on these amazing films, these amazing visuals, they'll say, fuck off. I've got to take my wife back some money. So, in a sense, that itself was a frustration to me, not being able to perhaps create the spectacle that I wanted to create. And now, being a solo artist, I can hire the best musicians, the best visuals, the best sound system, and the only person I have to answer to for the fact that I make no money at all is me. And that's fine, because I don't need to make any more money. I'm okay, I've made enough money. But I couldn't, do you understand, I couldn't do that in the context of being a band. So those things itself, which have nothing to do with the music at all, become frustrations. Another example, we got offered to tour in South America, and Porcupine Tree never toured in South America. And all the figures came back and it's, we're going to break even, we're not going to make any money, we're going to break even. And the other guys were like, no, we're not going to do it then. I said, we go to South America, I've always wanted to go to South America. And again, those things are frustrating when, and I understand why for them it was, you know, it was an issue. Of course, it should be an issue. But at that point, I thought to myself, okay, I need to stop pretending that I can be in a band, because I never really planned to be in a band in the first place. You know, Porcupine Tree started as a solo project. First 3 albums was just me, and it gradually became a band, and almost without me intending it to. So in a way, I've kind of reverted back to my original plan. I'm a control freak. I'm not really the kind of person that can be in a band. It's the truth. It's amazing that I managed to do it for so long.
Ну что, отпустим Стивена, пусть отдыхается.
Можно еще 2 вопроса?
Да, конечно, что же вы молчали?
У меня побольше есть.
What was incredible expanded mindfuck project for you, and would you like to record some more songs for this project?
I don't think so. It was my tribute to krautrock. I mean, I grew up listening to bands like Can, Tangerine Dream, Amon Dultu, Noi, and I loved that music, and I wanted to do a kind of tribute to it, and I think I did it, and it kind of exists in its own little bubble. I can't imagine I would go back to that. No, I mean, I'd rather in a way incorporate my love of those aspects into my solo work. You know, aspects of krautrock and things. It was an experimenting genre, so I feel like I've done it.
My St. Petersburg friends want me to ask you about yesterday problems with
customs.
Yeah, on the border of I think.
Yeah.
Your equipment.
Equipment arrived at 7:15, 15 minutes after the doors to the show opened.
Yeah. And what did you feel about this sad fact? And did you do something as a bonus to your St. Petersburg friends, as a contribution for the delaying of the show?
Did we do something special for them because we had to?
Yes.
We gave them a show, and
yes, of course.
And honestly, it looked like at one point there wasn't even going to be that. So, I mean, unfortunately, through no fault of ours and through no fault of mine, the show, you know, was running very late. We went on stage at 10 o'clock. We played for 3 hours. That's a lot of work. So the answer to your question is they didn't get anything extra, but the fact they got a show at all, I think, is thanks to my amazing crew who put that show together. And it's not an easy show to put together. If you'll see tomorrow, you'll see what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Знаете, еще если можно вопрос по поводу последнего мини-альбома.
Do you want to answer that
Sure.
question?
I don't mind. Yeah.
Okay.
Насколько я знаю, ваш последний мини-альбом, в нем вошли песни, которые по каким-то причинам попали в концептуальные альбомы, не вписались в концепцию. Однако он производит на удивление целостное впечатление как по музыке, так и по лирике. Так и было задумано, или песни так сложились независимо от вашего желания?
Девушка задавала, она потом расскажет, что Стивен не ответил.
Прошу прощения, что я проморгал.
Do you still play your songs barefoot? I mean, on shows. I've been on Porcupine Tree show at a band that wasn't in Russia, so.
Sure. Yeah. No, I've never worn. I don't think I've ever worn shoes on stage in 25 years. Maybe once because I had to, because it was like.
Haven't you ever had any accidents?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're always moving there, and I'm like, oh, he'll step on this.
Absolutely. Well, you know, these days I have because you know, I'm touring with a much higher production now. I have a special carpet, so, and my crew, like, they vacuum it every day. I'm such a rock star. But in the early days, I would come off stage with nails, bits of glass, a syringe once. I had to go to the hospital and have a tetanus because I had a used syringe stuck in my foot. Yeah, exactly. That's the face I made too. Yeah, so I mean, I have paid the price for that. but I just don't feel. And you know, it's not just a thing on stage. It's, I mean, at home I would never wear shoes. I'm wearing them now under protest, you know. But I just don't feel comfortable with shoes. I never have since I was a little kid, and running around and coming back to my mum with my feet bleeding from having run up and down the street in my bare feet all day. So yes is the answer to your question.
Спасибо.
Thank you very much.
Спасибо. Thank you. My
Thank
pleasure.
you so much.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Have a nice show tomorrow.
Thank you. I will.
And have a nice day off.
I will also do that. Thank you.
Come to Moskovskого.